And we're back this week with another rewind episode because I am not on this continent at the moment.
Well, you're here.
But I'm here right this moment, while we're recording this. But when you are seeing this and listening to this, I will not be.
Are any of us truly here?
I don't know. The older I get, the more I wonder, about this whole thing potentially being a simulation.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the theories they just can't prove right or wrong.
Yeah.
And they never will.
It could be. So I might think I'm going to Europe, but I might not really be going to Europe. It's all part of the simulation.
Yeah. I just need to be unplugged so I could go to Europe in like the snap of a finger rather than an 8-hour flight.
Oh, I wish it was only 8 hours.
All right, 12-hour
it's
flight.
Like 14.
Yeah, whatever the fuck it is.
I don't know. And shit changes all the time. I'm actually hoping that there aren't any last minute changes to the flight tomorrow.
Yeah, it's a long day.
And a lot of weather in the world. But if I'm not wrong, I think we fly over the pole to get there. So
oh shit.
Sort of. I don't know
either.
Hopefully I survive this trip and these aren't like the last times you'll ever see me on camera or anywhere else, but we'll see. This episode, as we were saying, we're doing some rewind episodes back to the earlier version of the show. This episode was from October of 2019 with Tripp Kramer, a.k.a. Tripp Advice, on dating. And this particular episode was about the best places to take a date.
I wonder, we're talking about fast forwarding now, right? We're in 2023. Like, what stands the test of time and what doesn't? Dating, not that I'm some expert by any means. I literally just live in my house alone all the time. But online dating, I would assume, has only gotten more popular.
I would imagine.
We're 2019 pre-COVID.
Yeah.
And then even post-COVID, COVID obviously made it more difficult to just go to a coffee shop and meet someone. And then 2, we're just getting more and more socially fucking weird, and we live on our internet. So I assume, I don't know the app numbers, but I bet you the dating app numbers are skyrocketing.
Well, I particularly like winter of 20 and 21. There were a lot of people who were looking for like a pandemic buddy. They're like somebody, like fuck buddy, but pandemic buddy, somebody that you could, feel relatively safe to hang with for
ever.
Yeah.
For the apocalypse.
Yeah. And I wonder how any of those survived or whatever. I'm curious about that. We don't have an answer for that, but I
bet not good. Same with the dogs. I've been looking to adopt a dog for 3 years. Not fake, but I just got commitment issues. But every dog was getting swooped up during COVID.
Correct.
And hopefully they have wonderful lives now, but I have feelings that many are probably back stray.
People were not as committed to the idea.
Yeah. Or they get back to regular life and don't know how to handle a dog with a regular life when you're not stuck at home all day.
Yeah, or they're just not home, period, which not every dog can deal with that.
Yeah.
And I would imagine that it just with a partner, that at the time what you were looking for was somebody that you could just stick with and somebody who wanted to be stuck with.
Yeah.
Wanted to have somebody around all the time, as opposed to kind of the natural breaks that you get when people go out of the house for work or whatever.
Yeah, anything. I do wonder something weird, and maybe I'm just out of the loop, but it feels like social medias pop up all the time, and whether they fail or not. Like Kick is a big one that's going on right now. It's like a big streaming service.
Kick is back?
It's a different Kick.
Oh, a different Kick.
Kick.com.
Okay. Not KIK.
No. It's a big Twitch rival.
Oh, okay.
But I haven't heard of any social dating apps pop off.
Oh. The one I had never heard of before was Hinge.
Yeah, that's been around. Hinge been around, Bumble been around, Tinder been around. And sure, there's fucking Christians Meet and cowcountryfarmer.com, but I don't know if those are even real. But you would just assume, because I think dating online has gotten more popular, that more people would be banking in on that idea.
You would think. I just have from this one particular story that I heard, I would always be very circumspect about something like Christian Mingle, because people use the whole religion thing as a way to connect with people, whether or not they're actually committed to it or not.
Probably.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and there's
probably.
I think that Christian Mingle might be the one that has the most scams and
all of them seem weird and scammy. Who identifies that hard as a farmer that they're only going to date a farmer? That's fucking weird.
I could get that. You would need somebody whose career was pretty adaptable, though.
Yeah, I mean, on
if you're
TikTok,
gonna
I'll
live
get
on a farm.
ads. I'll get ads for like gymbuddymeet.com and shit.
Oh, really?
They're just random shit. Like, oh, there's a new dating app, and it's for my gym bay. It's just I assume they're fake as well, or scams.
I would imagine so.
I don't know. Fuck them all.
Anyway, we had fun back then talking to Tripp, and we hope you enjoy it right now. And we'll be back with you next week with one more rewind, and back on Friday with a Topic Thunder, and we'll be back with fresh episodes in mid-April.
This may or may not be the furthest. I don't want to say reach, because this was the goal the whole time when you approached me to pitch the show, to get outside of fitness, nutrition.
Yeah.
Not only because I think there's the basics that the world knows, although there is some great science going on, figuring out new things and tweaking details, but the basics in fitness and nutrition are pretty locked in on how we can help people. We expanded a little bit into the psychology of it, the psychology of athletes, which I think is probably a bigger piece into the issue of fitness and nutrition, especially when it applies to the everyday American in our epidemic.
Yep.
And so hopefully we'll go down that psych route a little bit more and find some cool, interesting topics. We half-stepped into olive oil with my mom, which is not fitness or nutrition, but it's food, and it's
I would say there's a nutrition component.
There's definitely,
I can make that argument.
And we talked about those things. So I think today may mark the day we dive. I don't want to close a chapter. Maybe we turn a chapter or apostrophe dot thing or something. But we're moving on, and we're going to try to explore some things that maybe the everyday human wants to know. Yeah, and definitely something that I mean, you're married, so
and I have been forever. So
and in that sense, you're probably more of an expert on this topic than I. We're going to talk relationships. We're going to talk about boys, girls. I think mostly today we're going to start to attack things from the male perspective, but we'll see what our guest has maybe on the female perspective. A lot of you listening out there, although we love the ladies that listen, there's a lot of dudes that listen.
There's a lot of dudes that listen.
So we're
going
to go by
demographics are mostly dude.
Yeah. So we're talking dating. We're talking 2019, almost 2020. Geez Louise. How or where, and particularly where, and I say how because I'm thinking dating apps is the first thing that pops in my head, to meet people.
Plenty of apps.
Yeah. How do we do this where I feel like this conversation and this question actually came up simultaneously with arranging this guest. We had a little party in LA. I was just in Los Angeles hanging out with Bart Kwan, my sister Gio, and the rest of the Barber Brigade team. And I think I was just talking to my friend Demi, who runs Barber Brigade. She manages the gym. I was talking about how she met her girlfriend. They've been together a while now, maybe 2-3 years. It's super serious, all this. And it was on an app. And then I asked Bart and Gio when we were talking about it, and they met through mutual friends. And right there, my easy logic is like generation gap. Like these girls are like 23. Bart and Gio are mid-30s, right? I think my parents probably, I think they told me a story. They met through mutual friends. And then the conversation just started to freaking unfold with everybody.
Yeah, I know... I know some couple in my sphere, I don't know, met on Match.com.
Yeah.
I know that I'm pretty sure that my friend who's a minister met his husband through an online dating thing.
I think online dating too is old. I remember being in high school and Plenty of Fish and stuff happening.
Yeah.
In the scheme of the internet, it was fairly early they did that.
Yeah.
And I wonder how those apps do, or those websites do compared to now, like the Tinder, the Bumble, all these things. I wonder if they're going way down, because I'm pretty sure Bumble, Tinder is completely free, where I think of some of those apps, or some of the, websites cost.
Yeah.
Like a Plenty of Fish, you have like a $10 a month or something. Nothing crazy, but obviously everyone's on their phone as well.
I feel like there's maybe a premium level of Tinder.
Probably is. No, I'm for sure there is.
Yeah.
For sure there is. But I wonder how those play a role, because and then our conversation rolled into, and we were all just speaking from firsthand experience, and I'm not like much of a dater. It's not like I have buddies that like are single and they'll date a girl for a couple weeks, date another girl for a couple weeks, or just have multiple dinners, or talk to a bunch of. that's not really what I do. I kind of hang out.
I was never like that either.
Yeah, I just hang out by myself. That's about it. I don't really go out. And so that's what the conversation led to next. We're like, oh, especially an older generation would judge, like, oh, you met on the internet? Like, that's weird or something. Even though I've met most people on the internet nowadays. Because where you meet them, then you feel a vibe. Like, I don't go to bars. So that one time I go to a bar, what are the chances that I do meet someone that me and her are on the same wavelength because she likes to go out every weekend? I definitely don't like to go out to weekend. One person brought up the point that everyone does. What if she got dragged out by her friends and she never goes out either? So I'm like, it's already 1 in a billion I'm going to actually like someone. It's 1 in 3 billion that I'm actually going to talk to someone.
Yeah.
And then that chance beyond that is going to be the one time she went out in the last 6 months also. Like, I just doubt that.
Yeah, it seems like that would be a really random occurrence. I should throw in my older son met his wife playing Final Fantasy online.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Were not anywhere near the same hemisphere, at the time. So that's a thing.
No, it's for sure a thing, and it's probably even more of a thing now than even when they met.
Yeah, I mean, they probably met maybe 11, 12 years ago. They've been married for like 10 years now.
Yeah.
So, yeah. What was I going to say?
You just made every gamer in the world so happy.
I know.
Just gave him a chance. That is a good story.
I mean, it is possible. It's totally possible.
Sure.
But you have to be. I think you have to be open to it. And,
yeah.
I mean, he had kind of a long-term chronic pain issue, and he was definitely not a go-out type. If he was going to meet somebody, it was going to have to be easier than that.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I was never particularly outgoing. I have a problem being outgoing. Like in situations where there's none of that. You're just trying to make connections with people, potentially network, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm not good at that. I was at Podcast Movement a few weeks ago, and I intentionally forced myself to have conversations with people because it's just not me.
Right.
If somebody comes up and talks to me, that's fine. But initiating a conversation is rough going for me.
Yeah, we talked off air, and we can get into some of this too. But I've talked about my anxiety and things I go through, and I'm gonna go see someone again. I've been to a therapist my whole life as a kid up until teenage years, and haven't been as an adult. And I'm gonna go back, but I think I'm split personality sometimes because there's occasions I've been in, and nothing's different in the environment where I literally won't talk to a soul. Depending on my mood or I won't talk to a soul. Even if they're talking to me, I probably seem like a dick and I don't mean to be. I just don't know what to say, or I feel awkward, or words aren't flowing right. And then there's other times where I'm the guy introducing everybody, talking to everybody, and nothing from my self analysis is different in those situations other than something inside me is different. Sometimes, and it's not life of the party. It's just sometimes I can talk to anybody, and this even goes going to a restaurant. Sometimes I can make a joke and talk to the waiter. Sometimes I literally won't just say a word other than my order and then just sit back.
Well, that's a weird thing because I experience the same thing sometimes, and sometimes I can be halfway witty and try to engage people or be engaging, or you can kind of feel it when you're there. You're there, you got to. It's like I'm doing okay here. That's
kind of what I liked about even though I dread them often, expos or things of that nature, because everybody grumpy, but you can just kind of say anything to anyone if you do it lighthearted. There's lines and people everywhere at the Arnold, and you can make a little protein joke or a flex joke or something to anybody, and it's going to be taken okay. Where in everyday life, it's not like that because people are stomping along their way grumpy, or or a Disneyland thing, or certain places like that. There's a vibe you're talking about where everyone's kind of in a good mood, and you can kind of make a joke even if it's not funny. Or the biggest thing for me is there's never intent behind any of these. I'll flirt with a waiter, I'll flirt with a waitress, and I'm not even thinking. It's just how I joke and talk sometimes.
Yeah.
I think the difference, and hopefully we'll dive into this, maybe intent of where you're going. Obviously, these apps have intent. I think people go out to bars with a lot of intent.
I think that they do too. Yeah.
And I don't know. I don't know any of it. I don't know. That's why we're having this, Gaston, because I don't know what the hell I'm doing.
Well, back to I'm going to get back to intent in just a second, but I was at the big Spartan race thing in Tahoe last weekend went up to have dinner with the Iron Radio guys, and there are 15,000 people there.
Yeah, I was on Instagram. I saw how many people we knew were there.
You can imagine there's a lot of hooking up going on
Yeah.
in an environment like that, even though people know they have to. There's an athletic performance. So like the Olympics, they give out condoms because people are mingling.
That's what I hear.
Yeah. What was I going to say? Anyway, back to intent. What I keep hearing, I keep reading articles about how hookup culture is kind of killing relationships because it has optics around it, and it has like who you hook up with is people judge you based on that. Yeah. But like you can't you're get into a hookup situation, but you're in and you're out, and there's no.
Yeah, it's interesting because the term "it's a small world" or whatever has been around for who knows decades,
right?
But the world's only getting smaller with social media and niche things, and so like the world feels tiny. I think I wish I remember the quote. John Mayer said it, but it was so good about how many eyes, how many people you interact with on a day has multiplied by exponential numbers because of social media. Of course, we're going to have more insecurities and more mental issues because of that, because you're only supposed to come in contact with 20 people a day, and then now we're doing 100 million people a day or whatever, or potentially that. And so I think the same thing, maybe even with hookup culture or the idea of starting relationships or whatever, the world just seems so small. It seems different. Another stat that I randomly heard, obviously marriage has gone down. Marriage rates are the lowest they've maybe ever been in America. And some of those ties are to financial like stability or financial attraction in a male in particular. So how what age and how much money guys are making, and I don't think it has to do with this guy makes $1 million, he's necessarily more attractive than the guy that makes $500,000, although there may be studies on that as well. I'm not going to argue that, but this one more had to do with just being able to have like a real relationship in terms of potential marriage. If you don't have enough money, then the relationship's probably not serious enough, because like how are you going to live together? How are you going to take care of each other? And maybe it went male female, but I think in particular it was females looking at males.
We when my wife and I got together, we had no money. We literally had no money. We were broke as fuck. It's just the way things were.
Yeah, and people got married a little younger back then, I bet.
Yeah, we got married really young, but much earlier than we intended to.
What was really young?
I was 21.
Because I feel like
I just turned 21.
I feel like 21 to 25 was the norm.
Yeah, it was, but we didn't intend to get married quite that young, and we certainly didn't intend to have kids that young. We were the target was 30 for having kids, and I was 23. Just one of those things.
Yeah, it happens.
Rolling back to expos a little bit. Another thing about expos for us is that a percentage of people knew who we were already.
Yeah.
And so
they're confidence.
Yeah, they're predisposed to whatever.
Or there's something going on. Like I've done seminars where maybe people didn't know who I was, but they heard there was a deadlift seminar, and then like you're kind of in a position of authority. Then I can be like the guy. Or coaching basketball camps. I've done all that, and then I kind of put on a hat. They're like, all right, I'm the starter here. Like if I don't talk, if I don't do, no one talks, no one does. So I have to.
You have to perform yourself
again, but though with the intent, I don't think I've ever gone out to a bar. I swear, and all these people, guys and girls, are probably gonna not believe me, but I swear I've never gone out to a bar or a club thinking, one, let's go get laid, or two, let's go get a girlfriend. I've never done that once, and maybe that's why I don't enjoy those things. Maybe that's why the guys enjoy them, because they feel this chase all the time. But I've never once gone to a club or bar saying, time to hook up, time to find wifey. Not once.
Yeah, you just kind of go to have a good time, hang out with friends or whatever. You would never in a million years go by yourself.
No. Yeah, and if people are going to have a drink and I get dragged out, I go and have a drink. And sometimes I do want to go out and like chat or whatever, but yeah, not once. And maybe that's kind of, again, intent. And then intent on where. Same thing with the internet, though. Like I've never gone on like Instagram and said like, all right, time to find a wife. Like that's never passed my head either. I guess I've never even like pursued these things.
Yeah, and I wonder too, when you're going to a bar, you may encounter people who are, more or less sober.
Yeah.
I was listening to Malcolm Gladwell's new thing about his new book. He was talking about how alcohol affects people. New studies showing that people don't actually reveal their inner selves, their real selves on using alcohol. They become somebody else.
Yeah.
Like a bunch of latent personality stuff kind of clicks in, and they're a different person when they're drinking. And so the chances that you're going to like the person they are when they're sober isn't necessarily, or vice versa.
Yeah, I believe it.
Could be an issue.
Yeah, there's varying degrees, I'm sure. Some people may be very similar, and some people may be exact opposite.
Yeah, there's speed dating out there, which some people swear by and some people swear at.
Dating's weird. What I just thought about intent and how I've never pursued. I feel like dating is the only thing people say, like, oh yeah, just let it come to you. Right? People always say that.
Except it kind of really doesn't.
Well, I feel like nothing in life really does.
No.
Like, what if you told me you want to go get a promotion and make this amount of money or have this job, I would never say, let it come to you, Jim. Like, it'll just happen. They would say, like, oh, yeah, then you have to set that goal and work for it. Maybe we should look at these steps.
Right.
Where, like, no one talks about that in a relationship. Like, if you want that, like, if you want a real relationship or if you want to meet someone serious or have a deep connection or whatever, find a partner, like, you kind of have to work at those things. They don't just happen.
Yeah, actually, another thing that I've noticed over the years is that I've known guys that were engaged to women, and then for whatever reason the engagement fell apart. Sometimes it was him, sometimes it was her, sometimes it was life, but it fell apart. And so many of those dudes get married to somebody else within 6 months.
Yeah.
To a year.
They're trying to get married.
They're ready.
Yeah.
They're just ready.
Yeah.
And they're, when you're ready, there are a lot of solutions.
Sure.
Yeah, some of them a good idea, some of them less of a good idea.
Yeah, if it's something you want so bad, regardless of topic, and right now is relationship, you will work harder or ignore things. If you don't have any transportation and you want a freaking car, you're not going to be picky that it's blue.
No, especially if you don't have a lot of resources to.
If you got $30K and you also really want a car, you're going to pick your perfect color.
Right.
And I imagine that's just a little bit of human nature.
Yeah, just make it work. There are a lot, there's a lot of talk about the perfect person for you. That doesn't necessarily exist and isn't really necessary.
That's really interesting, and maybe we can get even a deeper philosopher or someone to talk about that, because I have a lot of friends that are married that say, no, we just worked and we're compatible, or I believe that there's multiple people for you. And then I have multiple friends that are married happily for a very long time and say, like, yeah, I knew this was the one. Because I understand someone saying that 6 months into the relationship because it's all romantic and awesome, and you're like, yeah, for sure the one. But years into it, still saying that, they're pretty convinced.
I got asked that question by somebody, a mutual acquaintance of ours, within the last couple of months, and my answer was, "Well, I was just comfortable.
Yeah,
I was just comfortable. I was able,
and maybe that's the feeling.
For the most part, just able to be myself.
Yeah, and maybe that's the feeling. Each person's feelings may be different when they know, quote unquote, know the one. Or maybe there's not the one, but your feeling was that you could be 1,000% yourself, and maybe someone else's feeling was they loved 1,000% of that person, or who knows what.
So anyway, I guess our question on this particular episode of these two that we're trying to do is the where to go. That
find either maybe your hookup or maybe your love.
Maybe exactly. And I don't necessarily think that they're the same place.
No,
I could be wrong. Right, I could be wrong.
I don't know either.
But anyway, that's the question you were going to pose.
All right, let's dig in.
Yep.
Cool. Before we hop into the questions, you want to give us a quick rundown of maybe who you are and what you do for our listeners?
Yeah, totally. Tripp Kramer, and I'm a dating coach for shy men. And what I do is I help guys become more confident with women so they can attract the kinds of women they want. And I have a formula that teaches them how to do that so they can get consistent dates, have an active dating lifestyle, and get girlfriends.
Awesome. That sounds I don't want to speak for our audience, but I know that there are probably some guys out there in that situation. Let's just say that. The way we're set up, basically, want to do two segments with you, or two questions, and we've already front-ended these things ourselves. So we're gonna ask you the question. We'll we'll do your social media and whatever, and then we'll do the second question.
Okay.
All right. So the first question we have for you is this: what are the elements of a good place to meet women?
All right. So here's my answer, and I get this question a lot. It's going to sound funny, but The answer is wherever women are. Okay.
That's
So a
pretty
lot
basic.
of guys are really, it's so basic. But I think that guys, but here's the thing, guys are like, oh, they judge places. They'll judge a place. Oh, I only want to meet a woman, naturally over like at a grocery store. I only want to meet her over apps because I'm too scared to go out. I don't want to meet a woman at a bar because that's where party girls go. So what I say is, there's all types of women everywhere, so you got to go where they're at. So one place where they congregate is online, naturally, right?
Mm-hmm.
Lots of women are online. They're on apps, they're on dating sites. But I've also found that a lot of guys, they don't get a lot of success there. And also, there's so many women, by the way, that are not on those sites. And also, even the ones that are, you might not match with, so you might be forced to meet women in person. So where do you do that? I would go where the most women are. So that's going to
yoga
be
studios.
Yes. So yoga, I definitely think is a great place because there's a lot of women there and they're usually beautiful because they're fit and healthy and things like that. So yeah, do that. But there's also only like 20 women in a class. That's like not that much. So I would say, yeah, if you're interested in doing yoga, go to yoga and then also benefit. You can talk to some girls afterwards. But also go where more women are. So they're walking around during the day. They're going to malls. They're at bars. They're out and about. Wherever they're congregating in your town in mass numbers, that's where you should try to do some approaching and meeting women in combination with, being on like one app and maybe one dating site. So that's kind of my answer. There's not like a best place to meet them. It's just you want to have lots of options and opportunities. So wherever they're hanging out the most, boom, there you go.
So in a way, it's kind of like you're probably familiar with sales funnels. Like
Yes.
The more leads that you get, you know what your conversion rate is and whatever. So maybe sort of the same thing if you're going to a place where there are more women, or you're getting out to places where you meet more women, then the possibility of actually meeting somebody that you want to date goes up.
Yes, and I like that analogy because sales and dating are oddly very similar. But yes, you want to get a lot of leads into your funnel. So like, okay, I used to say, yoga classes were a great place to meet women. And while they still are, I would say like yoga or the gym is a great place to meet a woman if you're already pretty good at meeting women. Otherwise, you're going to go to a yoga class, you're going to have the opportunity to maybe speak to one or two women, and the odds are that it's probably not going to work out just because there's, a lot of women that you're going to be talking to where it's just not going to be a great conversation or it's not going to flow right, whatever. So yes, you want to go where there's more leads and more opportunities because you're just not going to connect with everybody.
Are there tiers like that? Like someone who's maybe more comfortable talking to women or starting conversations, places they would go. Obviously, the numbers game makes sense. The more people you meet in life, the more chances you are to find whether it's dating or even a good friend, right? Because you're filtering through people you like or don't like. But is there places, where's maybe a couple, you already mentioned the mall, maybe bars. Where are some places where people are very shy? Because I know a lot of friends, successfully and unsuccessfully, only tried to date online. Where's like a beginner's, where's a step one location or two?
I think it's hard to give you one because what I've learned from working with so many clients is that every guy is different, right? So for example, right, there's daytime approaching and there's nighttime approaching. Nighttime approaching is going to be bars, parties, networking events, clubs, things like that. Then there's daytime. That's going to be grocery stores, sidewalks, malls, popular downtown areas where people are walking. So for example, like in Los Angeles, that's going to be like the Santa Monica 3rd Street Promenade. In Chicago, it's going to be, Michigan Avenue, places like that. So it's funny. I get some guys who are more scared to approach at night, and they feel more comfortable doing it during the day because the nighttime is super overwhelming to them. There's music. There's a lot of people. Daytime, it's kind of like, oh, you go and approach one person, and it's kind of like easy because it's one and done and over. And then I get some people who are like, oh my God, going up to a girl during the day out of nowhere, saying hi to her. She's busy. She's walking to somewhere. That scares me. But going to a bar, for them is maybe a little bit easier because girls are more prone to talking because it's a more social environment. So it's kind of 50-50. So if I were you and you're a guy listening to this and you want to give it a shot, I would try both. Whatever one seems a little bit easier to you, just focus on that. And obviously the easiest place in terms of anxiety, for example, is going to be online, right? Because you don't have to, you can just be like taking a dump and like swiping and talking to girls, and like it's not a big deal, right? But I also found that a lot of guys complain that they're not getting the matches that they want. So, and I just want to side note this real quick. If you're a guy right now and you're doing online dating and you're not getting the matches that you want, I really urge you to try meeting women in person. Because right now, online dating has become so saturated that unless you're a very good-looking guy with this amazing profile, and even then, you're only going to get so many matches. So unless you're killing it on online dating, meaning you're getting like 3 dates a week and it's going well for you, great, stick to that. That's obviously working. But if you're not at that level and you're a guy who's trying to date and meet women, I highly urge you to go out and try to do more in-person, old school type approaching. It's pretty awesome and it works really well.
Do you have to coach your clients to get past the expectation that they're going to go out one time and meet the one girl and then they're done and they don't have to keep going through the process? I think a lot of people think that there's like just one person for them and they're going to meet that person and the heavens are going to open up and they're never going to have to worry about that again.
Here's what I believe. In my experience, what I've learned is that I don't believe in the one. I don't believe in soulmate. So this is actually something that's talked about. It's called the soulmate myth. The myth that there is one person for everyone. I don't believe that. I think that's been something that's been created by movies and society and things like that. And I think that really there are so many women you can connect with, so many women you can fall in love with. And I can prove it, right? Like I can prove it right now. Let's say you meet an amazing woman. She is your soulmate. Holy shit. You guys get together. It's incredible. Everything works out so well. You get along. Sex is great. You have kids. Boom, you get married. Like, everything is perfect. This is the one. And then, not to go dark, boom, she dies. She drops dead, struck by lightning. Are you telling me that because that happened, that's it? You're done? You're never going to be able to find another woman who's amazing? Of course you are. Of course you are. And people do it all the time. So I don't want guys to ever think that. But I will say this. There are a lot of women out there, and most are not going to be ones that you're going to be able to connect with and really enjoy. I believe that there are very few out there where you do have a great connection with and do get along with and are very attracted to. So I do think in some ways it is special when you meet someone who you guys just like really instantly connect. However, I do feel that if you put the energy and effort that most guys unfortunately don't put into dating, I do feel that there's plenty of opportunities to be able to find that person and find that person over and over again, if so be.
Yeah, we were talking about that, kind of the is there a soulmate for everybody? And then in regards to dating, it's weird because I think guys in particular, maybe not girls as much, but I can't really speak on their behalf as much, but guys always say they'll say something like, yeah, it'll happen when it's supposed to happen, or you'll meet her when you're supposed to meet her, or something like that. You know what I mean? But like, you would never tell an entrepreneur that. You would never tell a basketball player that. Like, yeah, you'll get good at basketball when it's supposed to happen.
It's a little bit of a Jesus take the wheel kind of scenario where it doesn't necessarily work out that well. You could crash or just alternately do nothing.
Yeah,
you
nothing.
Just sit there.
Yeah, I mean, do nothing, be nothing, nothing happens. Like, that's how it works in every category of life. But for some reason in dating or love or whatever you want to call it, I feel like people don't see it that way.
Yeah, it's weird. I think it's so funny because I completely agree with you. And this is like, it's interesting to me too. It still blows my mind. Like, why dating? Why in this area? By the way, why in one of the most important areas of your life where like if you're this is for a guy who's looking to get married and have a family. For that guy, like one of the most important decisions you can make is finding a good partner, right? If you don't, your life could get really messed up. Divorce is bad, and having kids with the wrong person is bad. It just like can get really bad. So why wouldn't you want to just really, put a lot of effort into finding someone? I think it's the way society is, and I think it's the way the media portrays love, and I think it's the way that we consume pop culture, and that's how it just appears to be. And it's like no one's fault. Like I don't blame guys. I was like this too. It's like you just grow up and you're just thinking like, yeah, it's just supposed to happen. Like it's serendipity. And you meet a lot of people where that's how it happened. That's how you hear the stories. Oh, we met at a party. Oh, we got introduced by a friend. Whatever. Like it just kind of happened. Like you don't hear people being that proactive with it. Now it's a little bit different. Now it's like we met online, and that's perfectly normal too. But also, let's look at the statistics. In my opinion, I think the divorce rate is not the reason, but one of the reasons why the divorce rate is so freaking high is because I think that there's a lot of people who didn't put enough energy into finding someone that could be a good match. And I think that they settled and they found that, oh, wow, this is really not a person that was a match to begin with. And how easy is it to settle? Because for guys, it's like they found a girl and the girl likes them. They like them enough. And, it's like easy. But then it all falls apart. So what I'm trying to do is trying to change that. I'm trying to get guys to understand that you can be able to be more proactive in this area. It is an important decision. And also what guys don't realize is you can get good at this. Like you can build a skill to be able to be more attractive, to be able to learn how to trigger attraction when you meet a woman to get her more interested in you. And then you could also learn a filtration process to find out which woman is going to actually be good for you instead of just letting it land on your lap.
So you're helping them develop a little bit of mastery in such a way that their self-esteem improves so that they're not going to make a stupid decision because one person found them interesting and they feel like nobody else is ever going to find them interesting.
Totally.
Okay, that makes sense.
If I had a magic wand and can go up to any guy and remove all ego, all fear, and then send them out in the world to meet a woman, they would be incredible at it. Incredible. Even if they were a guy who wasn't making much money, wasn't that attractive, that whoever I were to just hit this magic wand with, I mean, they would be unstoppable. A lot of guys, they overthink things. They let themselves get in the way. They have low self-esteem. They have low confidence. So they overthink, and then they are unable to put their best selves out there, and they are unable to meet women because they're just so scared because they really don't have respect for themselves. So that's part of what we try to do, remove that so we can get them out there more comfortable. And that's what women are attracted to. Women are attracted to the guy who's just comfortable around women.
Do you have to coach them out of feeling like if they, particularly I would think in person, going out to gatherings, places that seem a little more obvious that they might be looking for somebody and feeling like, oh, this, they're going to be judged. Women are going to think, oh, they're just trying to hook up. They're not substantial. They don't want anything more than just, tonight. Do you have to coach them out of a reticence to be in that situation where they're going to be, I guess, vulnerable and judged for looking like they're insubstantial, shallow?
I mean, I don't think. That's an interesting question. I don't think that should even be a thought. You know what I mean? I just think that women, when a woman meets a man that she's attracted to, she's going to be attracted. So whether that be at a bar or nightclub or during the day, and plus the things that I teach guys is just how do you communicate and how do you meet a woman without appearing sleazy in any setting at all. So it doesn't even matter, where I throw them into.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter where you can literally anywhere. They're always going to come off as just a confident dude who just knows how to converse with a woman, and it's never going to come off in that shallow way. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we talked a lot.
I just want to make sure I got that right.
Yeah, we talked a lot about like intent, and like I have a bunch of buddies. I don't know why, I've just never been this way, but they would have the intent going out purely to whether it's get laid or meet a chick, and like I've just never had that intent. And so, like, in a way, I guess with your magic wand, it kind of gets rid of that because that's kind of part of the ego part or whatever, maybe. But a guy's just going out like, yeah, I'm just going to go meet chicks, dude. We're going to this bar. It's where all the chicks are. Rather than, like, I'm going to go out, have a good time, and just converse with people. I think the intent behind that will kind of filter out maybe how you're received. Does that make sense? Am I right? Am I wrong?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, basically. I mean, my goal is for guys to not get rejected. So
yeah,
I'm not going to teach them any kind of weird, sleazy pickup lines that are very obvious to women. It's more of like a natural approach. I mean, I'm not against guys going out and trying to have sex with women. I mean, women want to have sex too. Women want to have casual sex also.
For sure.
The only thing is that women just don't want to feel like slutty. Like they just don't. That's the problem. Like, and I feel bad for women. Like I wish that this wasn't an issue. It's a terrible double standard in a society. If a guy has sex with a lot of girls, he's a player and he's a pimp and he's cool. If a girl has sex with a lot of guys, she's looked as a slut, a whore, dirty, things like that. That sucks. That society has built that, that ideology too. So because of that, women are judged so harshly on their sexual partners. They have to be more selective. That's only one of the reasons why they have to be more selective. But they have to be more selective because they don't want to look like that. They don't want to look like that to their friends. They don't want to look like that to the guy. They don't want to look like that to themselves. So they're a little bit more the gatekeeper in terms of that, where a guy can just go out and have a bunch of sex and no one will judge him, right? Like at all. So I kind of lost my train of thought of where I was going with this. But I guess, yeah, so what I was saying in the beginning is, so yeah, I don't think it's wrong to just want to go out and have casual sex as long as you're doing it in a safe way and in a moral way, then by all means, women want it, men want it. So if you want to go out and do that, that's cool too. What's interesting is I found that most guys, it feels like, how old are you guys?
I'm old.
How old are we talking?
I'm 56. I've been married for 35 years.
I'm 31.
Okay, so I'm 34, so I'm in there. I found that, and generally speaking, and maybe you guys can speak to this if you're comfortable, most guys, like, their dream is this. I want to be able to sleep with a bunch of women, and then once I do that and kind of like have my fun and sleep with women and just enjoy casual sex or enjoy sexual partners and have fun sexual experiences, I'd like to do that. And then after I do that, I'd like to find a woman that I can do that with, but just in a monogamous way, and for us to continue and then eventually get married. Most guys I found land in that category. And some guys who say they're not in that category somehow, some way end up finding themselves in that category. But my example is they say, no, I don't want to settle down. I don't want a girlfriend. That's what they think now. But then eventually they get tired of casual sex and casual partners, and they're eventually looking for a connection. I'm not saying that's right or wrong. I'm not judging that. That's what I'm just saying that I found is that seems to be the case, is that it's like they want to have kind of their fun, in quotes, and then finally settle down and have someone to spend a life with, So I don't know if that's for you guys. I'll admit that's something that, was definitely for me. So
you totally validated something that we said in the first half, for sure there, because it seems pretty common that if a guy gets engaged to a woman and then for some reason that engagement falls out, she might not get involved with somebody again right away. Very often, he's married in 6 months, within 6 months to a year, to somebody else, and is in a relationship, pretty quickly because he's ready. This is my time. I'm ready to go forward. And whether or not that's the best choice or not, but I've seen it so many times.
Yeah, interesting.
Why don't we cap off this topic? Tell us where people can find you.
Absolutely. We're on a podcast, so if people are listening and this is a podcast,
yep,
I would suggest that you check out my podcast if you want to learn more about what it takes to get better with dating and women. My podcast is called How to Talk to Girls. It is available on iTunes, on Stitcher, on SoundCloud, on Spotify. There's over 300 episodes, and you can just dive in and have a good time listening to interviews with me and other experts, and also just me ranting on topics that can help you get better with women and meeting women and breaking through shyness and things like that. So check me on the How to Talk to Girls podcast. And if you want anything more from me, just go to trippadvice.com. And trippadvice.com is my hub. It's my website where you can find links to everything else that I do, my book, my social media, even my podcast, things like that. So trippadvice.com or How to Talk to Girls podcast.
Cool. We will link those up in the show notes.